Hey, what's up everybody? It's DJ Alex Brown and welcome to today's video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a moving head beam light from Betopper. Betopper? I'm still not sure. CLB260. This has a 9R lamp, 260 watt light, and we'll go into some more of those specs in a minute, but just so you can see the size quickly here, that's the size. It's a pretty good sized light. It's not massive, but it's not small either. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. First of all, what comes in the box? You get your standard accessories that you would expect, such as a basic user manual, a DMX cable, a power cable of course, and you get this bag with the hanging mounting bracket, some bolts to attach it to the light, and then a eye bolt for a safety cable loop. I did just quickly want to touch on the thickness of the PowerCon cable that this light comes with. It is a pretty hefty cable. Now I do want to point out that this is a lamp-based light, not an LED. So there are a couple of nuances to this light. Whether you consider that a feature or not, it does have a lamp instead of an LED. Like I mentioned at the beginning, it is a 9R 260 watt lamp. Now I also want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. This is personally my first light that has a lamp instead of an LED engine that is outputting the light. So there are a couple things on this light that are new for me. If you've never used a lamp-based light before, I think this video will be very helpful to you. As we get into actually talking about the light here, I am just going to mention some things and hold it in my lap here. And in a moment, we'll actually plug this into DMX, test all the features and stuff like that. But I'll just mention a couple things on the exterior. It is a plastic exterior on this light, but it's definitely a heavy-duty plastic. It doesn't feel cheap or anything like that by any means. It does say Neo 3 on the top. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if that's like the original name of the light or something. I don't know. I don't know why it says that. You do have on the plastic shell on the side the Betopper name. And then you have a bunch of these grates on the sides for the fan to keep that lamp cool. We'll talk about that a little later on. Still all plastic here, the exception being the base is metal. The metal on the bottom seems to be coated in some sort of coating that will protect it from scratches and damage. Now, one quick thing I do want to note is that they are threaded mounting holes for the clamp. It's not like a quick connect, easy connect clamp like some of the other lights that I've reviewed recently on the channel. I would like to see those quick connects, but that does generally either extend into the base of the light or out of it. There is also the hole for your eye bolt here. I am impressed that it actually comes with an eye bolt. A lot of lights I have seen more recently don't, whether that's because they have a little cutout where you can just fish a cable through. I would prefer to just have an eye bolt, and that way if you're hanging this a lot, you can just leave that in there, leave a safety cable attached. As you can see on the back here, you do have a 3-pin DMX in and out, and then you have your PowerCon in and out, and then you have your fuse. Just a quick note, this light does not have an on-off switch, which would normally be found right about here. A lot of the other moving heads I've reviewed recently do have an on-off switch. It doesn't really matter if it has an on or off switch or not. These are not being used, for me at least, in a installation environment. I use these kind of lights on shows and things. Is it a nice feature to have? A on-off switch, yes. Is it entirely necessary? Absolutely not. Another thing I would just like to note really quickly here is the tilt angle on this light is very steep, super low tilt angle, so you right down almost in front of a DJ setup if you're using this on towers, which is something I very much like. Now, because this is a beam light, it's a little bit new to me. I have used hybrid lights before, but this is my first dedicated beam. So there's gonna be a couple new things for me, hopefully a couple new things for you as well. As far as the usage of this light, I'm not gonna go too deep into this before going into an actual DMX demo, but basically this is a beam light. It's great for using on disco balls, just general air type effects, atmospheric type effects with fog and things like that. You'll get sharp beams, you could use prisms, things like that. I think the best way that I can put this is a beam light pretty much looks like a lightsaber if you have fog. All right, everyone, so if you're curious as we go through this demo, I am using the ADJ WMX1 or the Wolfmix W1. I do have a review out on my channel for this controller that's about a year old now, but it's an awesome lighting controller. Highly recommend it. It's my personal preference, especially for having people on my team to run lighting. You really don't have to know much about lighting to use this controller. Let's focus on this light that we have here today for this demo. Now, I did just quickly want to mention that you can turn the lamp on and off within your DMX settings, but it's very important to make sure that you have a preset or something to do this, to make sure that the lamp is running, because obviously if the lamp is not on, you're not going to see any light. Now, this is a difference from a lamp light to an LED. You do have to make sure you turn the lamp on. I actually had some trouble figuring out how to do this because this is my first lamp-based light, and Betopper support was super helpful in walking me through exactly how to do this. They were super patient with me, so I really appreciate that. I felt a little stupid not knowing how to do this, but now I know how to do it, and going forward, I think I'll be better off because of it. So as you can see, the tilt on this light is pretty steep. Interestingly though, it does seem to tilt more forward than it does backwards like this. So that's an interesting feature. So you want to make sure you have the pan set properly to be able to get that tilt as far as possible. And what's interesting here is there seems to be a small shadow on the beam here. Now that's just the optics going through everything. We are below what's considered the focal length of the light. So in an ideal scenario, we would be a lot further away than this, but this is kind of the space I have to work with. So for the purpose of this video, just ignore the shadow in the middle of the light, please. Let me say, this thing is bright. Like, I cannot look at this. It is so bright. What's interesting here though is it seems like it's just a shutter that kind of chops off some of the light. We'll have to see how this affects the output. So basically the dimmer is not a perfect percentage. It does have fine pan and fine tilt. That's fairly common on moving heads nowadays. I'm not going to go too deep into those details, but let's definitely take a look at the color wheel. So there's your red, green, blue, super nice blue, really vibrant colors on this light, probably because of that really bright lamp. Yellow, orange, magenta, probably a cyan, lime green, that's an interesting color. That's definitely cyan. So there's actually a lot of color options on this light. That's pretty impressive. What is interesting, I don't know if you could hear it in my microphone here, but the fan did go start moving faster on the light when the color wheel motor was running. So I'm not sure exactly why. Now I'm really interested to take a look at the gobos on this light because I have never used a beam light before, so I have no idea what they look like, and it doesn't appear I'm gonna be able to see them very well. Just a good thing to know, the dimmer shutter does sit in front of the light and affect the gobos, so something to know about the lamp-based light. Again, personally, if I was going to buy this myself, I would just go with an LED one. There are 13 gobos on this light with shaking effects available as well, and there is a white full open on the gobo in between the gobo shake and the regular static gobos. So that is all good to know. No rotation. Now let's take a look at some of the fun stuff. Let's take a look at the prism on this light. So, all right, everyone. So I did have to reshoot the prism portion of this video and the gobo portion of this video because I realized after the fact that you actually could not see. It was completely out of frame. So anyway, here are the gobos on this light. There are a bunch of different gobos. The only thing I did notice is that it was hard to get the gobos in focus. I'm not sure if because the light is still just so close. And for the most part on a beam light, you're probably not really going to be looking at what the gobos are doing anyway. It's more about shaping the beam of light. But for an example of what the gobos are supposed to look like, here's one on the screen. Now this light does have an 8-facet circular prism, and there seems to be something odd going on here with another piece of light projecting in the middle. I'm not sure why this is happening in the video, but it is actually visible, but I'm not sure if it's just because, again, the wall is just so close to the light. I obviously don't have 100 feet of space to test this light out, so I'm working with what I got here. But the thing that I noticed about this Prism wheel is that it has almost like a 3D effect, and then you also have these shake on the gobos, which makes it look like the Prism is shaking, even though it's actually the gobos that are shaking. Yes, this is done with the gobos. And this is what those gobos look like as you go through. You can shake them fast, slow, not at all, of course. And then the prism itself is also rotating, which I think is creating this effect. But it creates a really interesting effect that if you're looking to do some pattern projection, something a little crazy, maybe around Halloween, this might be a cool effect to kind of make things look spooky. That's at least the way that I see it. So let's take a look at the frost filter on this light. This is another feature that I wanted to point out quickly. So that was with the frost filter on and now without and now back on. You can see the frost filter turns this light into actually a pretty nice wash light. It's still pretty tight and it should still be considered a beam, but you could potentially use it as a wash light with that frost filter on. The amount of brightness that this lamp puts out is plenty for this frost filter still. Even with the blue color filter over it, we're still getting a lot of light out of this light. Another interesting note that I just wanted to point out quickly is that when you use the dimmer over the frost filter, I'm going to speed up this video here, but it works a lot better because you can't really see the shutter for the dimmer coming down and chopping off the light source because of that frost filter. So you can definitely use that dimmer with the frost filter, but it might not be as good to use with just the open beam light because it's actually chopping off part of the beam. I think that's because it's a lamp and not an LED, and just the way those mechanics work. You can see the lamp is currently off. I have it set to 12 channel DMX and channel 45. So if you need to go into the menu, you have to hit back, and the buttons are, I don't know if they're not labeled quite accurately or what, but you just kind of have to mess with them to get into the menu. But I'm going to go into manual control and go over to see if we can turn the lamp on. It's not in manual control, but you can see all the manual control. It's basically manual DMX. I really like this feature on a lot of the lights I've been seeing recently. Super helpful if you need to manually control the light. And we need to make sure that the dimmer is also all the way up, and now we have light. So this menu is pretty straightforward to use as long as you're familiar with moving headlights. I would say it's a lot easier to use than the ADJ lights that I have. Sorry ADJ, but the menu on that light is on the Vizzy Hex Wash 7 that I have is so complicated to use, it makes the menu basically useless once you set the light up. So I'm very happy to see that on a lot of the lights I've been seeing, including this one. To somewhat wrap up this video, let's talk about the pros and cons of this light. My first pro with this light, and with most lights that I review on my channel, is that it is cost effective. To find a similar light to this from an American DJ or Chauvet or even higher end lighting supplier, you're going to be paying at least double the price, if not more. So definitely this light is cost effective. Now, I can't tell you exactly what the price will be at the time that you look at it because the sales on the Betopper website are always changing. It is also a very bright light. You can run this light at half power and use it pretty much as normal. One of the biggest downsides of this light for me is that it has a lamp as opposed to an LED light source. I have two kind of additional cons for this. First of all, the lamp obviously runs warm and then needs fans to keep it cool. So there is more fan noise with this light than most average lights or LED lights, which I'm not a huge fan of. And then there are also some nuances to using a lamp-based light, like having a lamp switch that has to be turned on even when you are using DMX. Now, I did talk with Betopper about this because I actually had some trouble when I was setting this light up. I couldn't get the lamp on. And what I ended up finding out was I had to go into the menu and turn the lamp switch on, and then there's a little bit of a warm-up time to get the lamp to full brightness. A couple more pros, it has a sound active mode. Again, this is a major pet peeve of mine. Why don't moving headlights have sound active? Why not have it? It's a feature that every light should have. There's no sense in not having that capability, because if you don't, you're really just lacking a feature. So there's no reason not to have it. And you might see it as a pro or a con, but there is no power on off switch. Personally, I kind of see that more as a pro than a con, because it's one less thing that can go wrong. Another thing you might see as a pro or a con is the fact that it has a power cable. Now, pretty much every light nowadays does. I'm not a huge fan of PowerCon personally, but I do understand why the industry is moving that way. But now it basically means I have to replace all my cables, which is a little bit annoying for me. My conclusion to this video is that overall, I would prefer to use an LED fixture after this being my first lamp-based fixture. I would prefer to just spend more for a lamp-based fixture, so I will be leaving an affiliate link to the Betopper website with a comparable LED fixture. Yes, it is a little bit more expensive, but I think a little bit more cost is well worth it for the time and headache savings that you're going to benefit from by purchasing an LED over a lamp-based light. Now, that's my personal opinion. Your personal opinion may be different. I'll also leave an affiliate link to this light that I'm reviewing in this video in the description below as well, so that you can check this light out and purchase it if you want to. Just a quick heads up, if you didn't already know, affiliate links do help to support the channel, and I do get a small commission when you purchase lights using an affiliate link. So thank you everyone so much for watching this video. That is going to be it for now. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments or reach out to Betopper directly if you have any questions on the light. But that's going to wrap this video up for now. So thank you again for watching, and until next time, peace.